Hey, everybody, this is Jonathan Kirsting with the Pittsburgh Technology Council, Tech Vibe Radio, all the fun stuff we do at the Tech Council. And I keep saying this, I'm going to keep on saying this. We're trying to keep things on the super positive here at the Tech Council. And one of the things that we're doing to keep that positivity flowing and going is having awesome conversations with our members who are kicking butt despite the pandemic and have awesome information, awesome services, awesome tips to keep your company doing that same exact thing. And I'm really pumped to talk to Damon Claus here from Castus. Damon, thanks for hanging out with us today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jonathan. I think it's an awesome initiative, and happy and humbled to be part of it. So,
Thanks, man. But first and foremost, I want to say, I think Castus has just some fantastic content on your site. Your blogs are tight, they're concise, they're actionable, and they're entertaining and engaging. All of that magic kind of comes together with your content. And I know you do a lot of that to help your clients. Give us the background on Castus real quick and what you guys do. And we're going to jump into some of your blog posts because there's some really good ones here. And I think our listeners and viewers are going to get some great takeaways from this.
well, thanks. I appreciate it. I can't go forward without giving a shout out to we work with a marketing firm here in Pittsburgh called Spark. They're great. They're a wonderful team. And we partner with them really closely to put that content out. And
Excellent.
it is a labor of love. Like, we really try to hold ourselves to high standards and make sure that we're not just putting junk out there and it's valuable.
No, it shows, definitely.
Well, thanks. So background for Castus, I mean, we've been around, we'll be 4, believe it or not, in August.
4, oh my God, you're in that terrible stage, right? You're yelling and screaming.
Right. Yeah. I'm a Pittsburgh native. I was born and raised here, and I worked at a couple other companies, but I founded Castus 4 years ago to really help businesses think through how they want to grow and where they want to grow specifically. I've got a background in international business development, so going into new countries, but also just helping business owners think through, okay, what's my next market? Is it, the town over? Is it the state over? Or is it maybe even internationally? So our honest to goodness goal is to just help business owners achieve their goals and accelerate their growth.
Well, how important is that right now? Because so many businesses are in this state of flux. And everyone that I've been talking to in this series just really keeps talking about how, like, this is this time where you can start retrenching a little bit. As you're hanging on, doing what you got to do to keep the doors open. But it's actually a really good opportunity to be thinking about, because we're coming out of this thing. I'm telling everybody right now, we're coming out of this thing, and a lot of us are going to be stronger than we came into it, right?
Yep. Yeah, it's a great question. And actually, I mean, as a business owner myself, I ask the same questions, right? Like, what are we doing to first and foremost survive the best we can, but also retrench? Or for me, it's been a bit more of a kind of an internal reflection of, okay, what are our assets that we have? What can we take to market? What can we provide to customers that is different than other people, that makes us unique? And I mean, it's really going back to sales 101 and kind of initial business development, business planning phases. Like, what do I have, and what can I do with it that's special and different? And I think that look, everyone's kind of running ragged in their own special way, whether it's kids or dogs or just their mind going crazy. But if you can find some time on the margins to really think about those questions and get some white space to give them some honest thought, I think you'll come out on the other side with some really, really great material and steps forward, basically.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So one of the big things that obviously has impacted so many businesses, and this was a blog of yours that I came across that I really wanted to talk to you about, is all the social distancing that's going on right now. And I think it's going to really continue for quite some time. I don't want to say forever, but obviously I think this whole pandemic is going to change the way we do business for a very long time. I mean, that's really affected people's business models, especially around things like entertainment, like when it comes to things like around physical fitness, and especially education. Give us some insight on that, and maybe other areas where you see social distancing really impacting business. And really, as a business, how are we going to adapt and change in order to address that?
Yeah, I mean, in all honesty, the real answer is I don't think anyone knows yet. I think that I think that there are some early trends that we're seeing that are going to continue to be pervasive. You're going to see a lot of businesses, in my opinion, really question whether they need to have a physical space, a physical location for not only their employees, but also their customers, right? I mean, it's been like shocking to see some of just the local businesses. I was reading an article the other day about Wiggle Whiskey, who I love the way they said it. They said overnight we became an e-com, an internet seller. And I think that's kind of what you have to do. And I think they'll eventually go back to welcoming people in because there's some magic to that. There's some, there's some uniqueness that they create by having people in their space.
I mean, some
But
things
now they're,
got to be tactile, right? I mean, I
yeah,
hate to say, but some businesses, it's like it's about people being with people and sharing an experience, right?
well, and I'm a huge believer in that. I used to work at a company here in Pittsburgh called Four Moms, and when I managed their sales team, and I actually used to say to the team all the time, first and foremost, get an in-person meeting, right? When you're meeting with someone,
Absolutely.
whether it's a partner or a
Yeah.
client, you got to prioritize face-to-face contact. We're community creatures. We love to be around people for the most part, and we make those most amazing and deep connections in person. And
Exactly. Right. Right.
so there's an element of that that just has to survive, and I completely agree will survive. I also think you're going to see a little bit more, again, as a business owner, a little bit more diligence around, okay, do I have to fly to the West Coast? Do I have to
Right.
fly to another market for this meeting?
Yeah, exactly.
I
Because Zoom
value
has been
that.
working so well.
That's exactly right. Yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot more kind of intentionality around, okay, if I'm going to a place for a thing or a meeting or whatever, let's make sure that it's really warranted and necessary and can, there's a specific benefit coming out of it. Because people who have not given that amount of thought previously are forced to now.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
that's definitely going to happen. And then I think it's going to be around a big trend is how do businesses try to create value for their customers or potential customers outside of that initial person-to-person interaction. So obviously a lot more content on websites, a lot more stuff that you might have charged for previously, I think will become either a much reduced price or even free in some cases. So those are some early trends, I think.
Actually, no, that
um,
sounds legit. Yeah, that's some very
yeah.
sound insight. Very sound insight. So after I read that blog, I was going through your site, and you had this really thing about really working from home hacks, right? And I think we've all been at this for about a month now. We all have our little things that we're doing to keep ourselves in line. Like you notice me right now, I'm wearing the old bow tie because I need to feel like I'm at work, right? I, I need something around my neck grabbing me to feel like get work done. As far as that is, and I thought you had some great insights on just some basics around kind of setting some boundaries and just being as productive as you can and being still accessible as you can in between those loads of laundry that we're all getting done, right?
Fair. And again, when we talked about this idea and putting out this blog, I said we got to make sure that we're not just creating more noise because there's a lot of noise out there right now. And our take on it was that our team is relatively small. We've got a handful of employees, and we prioritize work-life balance. So as far back as Castus starting, we initiated Friday work from home. So the goal was nobody in the office on Fridays, try to be working from home, and then throughout the week if you can do it as well. So I felt like we had some real insight based on
Definitely,
some
yeah.
like tried and true methods to offer. And the big ones that I'm just referencing my screen. I want to make sure I'm honest, but man, give structure to your day was a huge, eye-opening kind of learning for me early on,
Okay.
because I think there's this idea that, well, I'm home, I can be productive, I can start a little bit later, that way I can push my breakfast into, I don't have a call until 9:30, so I don't have to really start at 9, and um,
Do I really
it's
have to get dressed?
yeah, it's just a slippery slope. And from my experience, I'm a creature of habit. I got to be up at my time. I got to get on the treadmill. I got to do this, and then I got to be in my seat and being productive by a certain hour of the day, or things kind of slide. And then part of that is creating a really creative and productive workspace. And one of the tips that I think is important is that if you live with other people, it's not only a signal to yourself, like you said, your bow tie is signifying to the rest of your body, hey, I'm on the clock now, but it's also a signal to those that you work with that, hey, I'm in my space. I'm productive. I'm trying to be productive. I'm
Exactly.
working right now. My 2.5-year-old doesn't seem to respect those boundaries at
Oh,
all.
how could he?
Um, but at least my wife, who's working full time, like I know when she's upstairs in her space and I'm in my office, we're working, right? And I think
Definitely.
it's important to
Very
kind of
cool.
set those boundaries for yourself and others too.
I
So
see. I find myself sliding in the wrong way where I'm working more at home, not less, because it's kind of like the days go by so quickly, and all of a sudden, like, hey, I've been actually in this room for 10 and a half hours now.
yeah,
It's like, oh my, but that's just what it's calling for right now. But yeah, I just think it's good to get those points out there that you guys have, and your website, it's Castus.
castusglobal.com.
That's, I
Yeah.
want to forget the global part in there. I think if everyone goes over there and checks it out, there's some great, really some great articles you have on there. I think it's really good. And so before we started our conversation today, you were saying that just before this whole pandemic broke out, you guys are ready to launch some new services, and you kind of have them softly launched on your site right now. Tell us more about that, Damon.
Yeah, happy to. And so, yeah, we actually just updated our website a little bit with some free tools for folks. And the idea was early part of this year, we spent the last few years working with major corporations, some really big companies around the world, helping them grow into new markets and kind of understand their growth strategy. But the focus and the goal has really, truly always been to come back to focus on the Pittsburgh market. It's such a fascinating time, and there's so many just amazingly talented people and young businesses that we want to help think through those early stages. And
Definitely.
part of that is just being intentional about asking specific questions. We kind of summarize it saying, like, what is your business identity? What makes you unique? What makes you special? How should you talk to customers about that? What should you charge for it? And so, to your point, we were going to start working with some folks here locally and reaching out personally. Again, prioritizing that personal touch, and that's not necessarily possible given the limitations of social distancing. So our first step is to just put some of those worksheets and some of those thoughts that we've gathered over the years of working with companies on our website, make them free. And if
Cool.
people want to use them and on their own time, that's awesome. If they want to reach out for deeper conversation, that's cool too. But we just really want to see that all boats rise kind of approach.
Love it, man. That's so cool. I really recommend everyone check that out. I mean, like I said, it's that time. You got that time on the fringes. You got some white space in there. You're thinking about your business. These worksheets might really help guide you along a little bit and get you thinking in some new directions as far
Yeah.
as.
Well, and your point about, making the work days longer, I see that a lot. I'm talking to a lot of business owners and peers of mine who have said, yes, I have that productive kind of 9 to 4 or 9 to 5, whatever, where I'm in my creative space. But then on the margins, I'm hungry and I have some time and I want to go feed myself. And that was the intention. It was,
Cool. Yeah.
download this, and at 11 o'clock at night when you're spinning your wheels and you're like, well, what am I going to do next? Or how do
Yeah,
I come out of this?
exactly.
Go work on that on your own time, right? I
Definitely.
can't know when you're going to be most productive. So
Exactly. So just before we wrap this thing up, so how are you managing all this? It seems like you're paying attention to the stuff you've been preaching about, the work at home balance and everything like that. I mean, how are you keeping your team motivated? How are you keeping yourself motivated?
it's a really good question. I mean, I think it's one day at a time in some respects. You
Yeah.
really got to get
Right.
up and you got to take the day that, take it head on. And the sun's shining today, so that never hurts to have some motivation of that. But we're really communicating as a team. Again, we're no strangers to being work from home and remote, but we've got almost daily stand-ups. We've got a chat window open up all the time on our laptops, so
Mm-hmm.
we can connect with each other. We do a top of week team meeting, bottom of week team meeting to make sure we're just circling on things. And then, quite frankly, I'm actually really being intentional about encouraging the team to set some goals that are outside of work. So if you need to go plant a garden, if you're waiting to do
Yeah.
some home project for a while, go do that. And then lastly, by the time this airs, they will have gotten them, but I just sent some gift baskets to our team.
Nice.
There's some great there's some great companies locally that are putting together gift baskets and just
That's
kind of
cool, man.
products that you can ship. And, I think it's really, it serves two purposes, right? Help some local businesses keep their business running. And then it just says to your team members, I'm thinking about you. I got a
That's
lot going
awesome,
on,
dude. That's
but
your
I'm
best
thinking
tip
about
of the day. I love
you.
it.
Yeah. So, um, I won't give any specific plugs, but pick your local restaurant, pick your
Yeah.
local, Wiggle Whiskey distributor or whatever, and just call
Right.
them and say, I want to send something to my team. How do I make that happen?
Love
So,
it, man. That is cool. Damon, you're the best, man. So much fun talking to you. This is some great insight. Can't tell people enough. Check out castusglobal.com. Check out the worksheets. Check out the blog posts. Thanks for being on One Mic Stand, man. You're awesome.
thanks, Jonathan. Really appreciate it. And everyone stay safe, stay home, and we'll get through this. I'm 100% sure of that.
I agree with you 100%.